Hello? Hello? Have you seen my internet connection? Anybody out there? Hi.
Right. Hello, 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 welcome, welcome, welcome. Huh? Alright, that was annoying. Annoying was actually underselling it. It was very annoying. Okay, it's stabilized. Right. Hello, hello. Yes, round 2. Check if everything is working. Okay, so what happened there? That's lovely. I back up to the cloud. The cloud. Ooh. And the software that I use sometimes causes my internet connection to crash. Now, it decided that at this particular moment it was going to start a backup and crash my internet. So, that was fun. How to ruin a stream. Let technology do its thing. This time, it was not my fault. I promise, I did nothing. My fingers didn't go anywhere near any disconnects. It was my backup software. Sorry, my damned backup software. Well, it didn't want the truth to get out. It didn't want me to talk about the Matrix. Oh my god, the Matrix. So, scene 1, there's a character called Trinity. She's sitting in a chair in a very dark room, chatting away. And then a cop enters. Ooh, it's dark and scary, and gunshots and fighting, and then the movie ends. There we go. There's the Matrix. The dog did it, yes. No, it's the cat. Was snoring too loud. Internet got afraid. Let's just wait for everybody to reconnect. I would download a boat. You need a very big 3D printer or a lot of super glue. All right. Stuff and things. I'm sure that's not going to cause any problems, having it crashed for so long that YouTube started a new stream, and I think Twitch would probably also start a new stream, so that's great. I do. It's sleeping here by my feet. I did show a picture earlier. There we go. We can have a live picture. There we go. Oh. We need to zoom in for this one. There we go. There it is. Not a perfect picture. Come on, camera. It's green screening the cat, so, you know. It really is Schrodinger's cat. It's half there and half not. Okay. Really? Okay, so that was not me typing. That is the bot that looks after my chat for me, informing me that the stream is live, which is good, I suppose. Right, let's get back to work. For some reason, it reckons we have 40 people. That's good. But I think it's partly connected to the old stream. Oh, right. So we were at VIP. By the gods. We were going with a nice, hearty, fat politician voice. Not any specific fat politician from the 40s and England. But it may bear some resemblance to certain fat politicians from the 40s in England. Yeah, mine says 44, but mine's the combined chat. So, this is from restream.io. But anyway, by the gods, yes. Unknown soldier. Okay. Now my moustache is attacking my nose. Soldier. We'll go with M10. That's a nice American voice. Well, Americanish.
Okay.
M1. For duration voice number 1. Mode 1. Module 1.
Eh.
Oh. Bad moustache. I would threaten to shave it off, but it would know that that would be an empty threat. The biggest one I know of, AJ, I don't know what the type is the one they use to 3D print houses with concrete. That is a beefy boy. But it's also... Yes, so it's also got a very specific job. You're not going to be printing duckies with it. Or boats. I did see a YouTube video. A guy who did like a 3 meter by, like it was 2 by 2 by 3. 3D printer, plastic 3D printer. A super giant one. It wasn't super great, but it did print big things. He did a full scale model of himself. So... it's the only thing a content creator would do. Princess, okay, F1. Gotta zoom through that one. I don't know whether they still do it, but it was experimental. It was China, I think, came up with it, so that they could print houses quicker, or modules quicker. But I don't know whether that's still a thing. Could be. But I don't know. I have Captain Candy, and I think that it wouldn't help, because it sounds artificial for a lot of the stuff that I do. At this point, it's not my range. My range is fine, it's just my stamina that is lacking a bit, which I'm sure most middle-aged men would, have something to comment about, but this is specifically my voice I'm talking about. But we're getting there. Doing the physio and the streams help strengthen the voice back to where it was. As of 2 days ago, I would say that we were 1/3 of the way there. Maybe even closer because of the 3-hour stream. But yes. Yeah, that sounds quite interesting, James. Loki. Who is this? A wargear was heavily armed, humanoid combat platform, remote controlled, from the venerable young man by specialist Jonas. Lucky bastard. Time to give the good news to Valkyrie, Loki, and Doc. Oh, good. More voices. Just gotta stretch those vocal. Loki. What are we gonna do? Cowardly, I think. Actually, no. Loki. It's gonna be Cockney. Bosher, if you want me dead, I have this perfectly good gun in my bunker. Just give me a minute to get it. No need for all the theatrics. Something like that. Because I think it'd be funny. I'm just picturing Loki from Marvel speaking in a very Cockney accent. For those you don't know, he's actually an English actor. Apparently. I say that because I don't remember seeing him in anything else. Velk, which I'm going to assume is Valkyrie. Do we think that Valkyrie is a female? I think Valkyrie is a female, so we're going to go with F2. Oh, definitely stretching the vocal cords today. Bouncing all over the place. Captain. Okay, 2. F2. M1. So what, we've got like 6 voices already? M1, M3, M13. I'm counting on my hand. M10, so 4. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're on 8 voices already. And we're not even halfway through the story. Thankfully, the beginning part will, in theory, have all the voices. Captain Rush. Alright. We've done pompous English, we've done snivelly, we've done old man, we've done Cockney. Doc. I mean, Doc, I would say, is pompous. But we've used that already. I think we'll actually go with M2-1, which will be a slower version of the power voice. So, that is M2 variation 1. As long as I remember that, we're good. Loki was Cockney, which is M5. Doc. M1. Captain. Aye, Captain. Is the old man voice. Yes. Well, it's like anything else. You gotta use it. And a lot of my other voices are very, very specific. Like Scottish. Whenever I say an accent, it's an Americanized version of the accent, or it's not a thick version of the accent. It's kind of like, what would you call it? Infused essence. You know, it once saw the accent walking past, and that's as close as it ever got to the accent. But it's close enough that most people know what is going on. James, there is a PayPal. It is listed in most of my videos. in the description under Give Me Money, or if you want to support the channel. So there is that. Very nice, Redvex. Very nice. I know they gave extra credits the other day, which is cool. Captain Candy with the super chat, 10 USD. Thank you very much. I'm not sure why the donate button is not working on my thing. I'll need to double check, make sure. I'm not a real... Suno is the musical AI program generating. So this song... Let's just crank that volume up. This song, no human was involved. Well, one human, me, was involved in the making of this song. And all I did was I typed a sentence into a prompt and hit compile, or go, or make song. So this is AI generated.
Our own schemes in the vastness of space where no man has been. We'll navigate, chart the unexplored galactic highway. Give home maze upon the starry sea. We're the spacemen sailing through infinity. With our voices loud and our spirits free, we'll voyage across the celestial sea.
For those that are interested, there is the PayPal link. Or not. Yes? No? Yes. So, there it is. Right, and we're doing voices, so I need that and that. Cool. So yes, it is a space shanty. This is also AI generated. And so is this. Ko-Fi should be everywhere. But Ko-Fi just goes through PayPal anyway, so it's PayPal with extra steps. Look, AI is a tool. It'll always be a tool. It should be treated as a tool. Remember, the scary thing about AI is today's the worst it'll ever be again. It'll never be this bad again. So, my problem with AI, specifically the AI channels, is they don't ask for permission from the authors. That's it. If people want to enjoy the content, then go for it. AI has made my life easier with thumbnails and backgrounds. Okay, so we're back to singular voice, which is good. Okay. Not a problem. James, I understand. MZ, I'm talking specifically in this case about the authors that they're taking content from. So I ask authors for permission, they should too, to be able to use their work. I agree that it's a complicated issue when they're taking other works to blend together. That is for much smarter people than me to argue about. I am just a word speaker. There have been several videos about there. I watched one from, who was it? Lemino? No, it wasn't Lemino. Cold Fusion yesterday. He made a pretty interesting video about AI. I mean, he's been on the AI thing for several years already. Yeah, I can understand that, Captain. I can really understand that. Yeah, it's not transformative. Narrating a story is not considered transformative by any standard. At least, not transformative enough for a court of law. Just straight up reading a story, you don't transform it. All you're doing is moving it to a different medium, which is still copyright infringement. Yeah, I think there's been 7 or 8 that have popped up since my operation. I don't know how legit they are. Captain. Okay, what do we do with Captain? Captain was 2. Doc was 2-1. Just to make things that much more complicated. Jonas. Have we had a Jonas before? Yes. No. Did we give a voice to Jonas? Jonas. I don't think we have added a Jonas yet. Okay, we've mentioned Jonas, but we haven't actually had him speaking. So, new voice. Dude, bro, M17, I think. Or are we going to go with a more Scottish in full? Dun, dun, dun. Do, do, do. Jonas, we had his 4, 6. That's 4 earlier. 6. 4 is cowardly. which should probably be a politician. Or a delegation. Okay, apparently I'm still streaming to 44 people. From somewhere. I got one thing saying 32 people, another one saying 44 people. I definitely know that feeling, Jeremy. Definitely. Adulting is nowhere near as fun as one thought when they were a kid. To F1. No, F2. M2-1. M5. M1. M2-1. M2. M1. M2. M1. I think we're near the end. I hope. That sounds unpleasant. Training is... You need to be a certain type of person to enjoy training people. And I do to a degree, but, yeah. Welcome to the new job. There's the bug, here's the power washer. Figure it out yourself. I'm standing outside with the paramedics. That'll probably be what I say. Are you talking about, what is it called? Infection-free zone? I think it was called. Good morning, Rolando. Hope you're doing well. Infection-free zone. Is this the game we're talking about? Because it is interesting. Buggy as hell, but it's early access. Ooh, bad word. Bad word detected. Bad word. No. Bullcrap. There. Algorithm, I did it for you. Please don't punish me. AI, overlord, master person. Fair enough, Jeremy. Fair enough. Sometimes when the equipment isn't up to snuff, it makes life that much more difficult. But it is cool to be left alone. I'm a macro-managed kind of person. Tell me what you want and leave me the hell alone. But there are some people that prefer micromanagement. I'm not them. I really can't stand it. Oh, Captain M2. M1. Yeah, I've got like 100 hours of saved up footage of Project Zomboid, so I don't think we really need it. But personally, I was playing it just before stream, in fact. Might play it after I've done working. I'll work on the game. Something like that. It is much appreciated, Captain Candy, but you got to cater to your audience rather than trying to cater to my audience. If they want you to use the naughty words, then do so. I have had enough practice changing the naughty words into not naughty words. Problem is when I speak from my head, I don't change the naughty words. When I read them, I change them, which is very odd. It's kind of like when I'm reading from my head, the speed bump just doesn't exist. But when I'm narrating a story, there's an active speed bump there. Jeremy, that's normally called middle management. They think up these nice complicated projects for people, and then they hand it off and make it somebody else's problem. -1. No, that's very true, James. Some bosses are just very not great. I mean, I know when I worked in a corporate environment, shall we say, very corporate environment, not my usual environment, the type of manager was, you could actually see they infect their subordinates with their way of thinking. So you would have one middle manager that was fair, that was a macro manager, and everybody was nice to deal with. And there was another department where the middle manager was militant and a complete and utter twat. So everybody in their department did the same thing. They all behaved the same way. So it's amazing to see how a management style can just disrupt an entire department and just change people's personalities. It's remarkable and ridiculous. Good morning, Peanut. I hope you're doing well. Yeah? Well, yeah, I've seen it done with the CEO, so no higher than that. And just the entire company changed because of the way they behaved. It was very, very, well, interesting is a word for it, I suppose. Thankfully, I left the company shortly after, so I didn't have to deal with the mutation of the workers. Mutation into backstabbing twats, which is, corporate environment. Well, this is worse than usual. That's good. It's always good to have a nice break, Peanut. M2, M1, M1. Yeah, definitely. Crabs in a bucket with knives is an understatement. F5. I don't have that many female voices. I've got 2. Low. Low. 2. Nope. M5. 1. F2. So I think we're up to 13 voices already in this story.
Ka-ka, tuki tuki.
I hate that. When you're sitting at the computer and you hear the birds tweeting and going, why are the birds tweeting? And then you look at the time and you're like, oh, that's why they're tweeting. Whoops. Done that many times. AJ, we've tried it, we've discussed it. She doesn't like it, so we don't do it. She gave it a good college try and really didn't enjoy it, so it is what it is. Not everybody is comfortable with putting their voice out. I mean, she doesn't have a bad voice, but she just is uncomfortable with the YouTube and content. She's more than comfortable enough editing the videos. She just doesn't want to be in them. Which is fine. I'm not going to force her to do anything. Cheers, Ayadama. I will do, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Good morning, Brian Wells. I hope you're doing well. Elijah, that is not normally called a zombie horde, so just be careful. Stock up on steaks and scythes. I think would be the easiest way to remove the head from the shoulders. Sword, scythe would probably be the easiest. Do. This story feels a lot longer than I thought it was. I played it for a bit. I got bored. But it's also very story-oriented, and I don't really do story-oriented games. So there is that. The problem with the sword is you need to know how to use the sword to be effective with a sword. But a scythe is pretty easy. Sharp end forward, swing with all your might. So a less trained person would probably be more effective with a scythe than with a sword. Would be my guess. Nice. Played Dave's Dive for a bit. Again, didn't gel with me. Yes, Windows Update. That is fantastic. Why did we have to do that in the middle of a stream? So very loud. Fair enough, Elijah. Fair enough. So, you have the graveyard shift. G2, if you will, or G to the power of 2. Oh, yeah, I've seen that one, James. Pretty interesting. Getting the two metals to join in a nice way. I can't remember what the channel was called. Thank you, Eric. Very much appreciated. The algorithm is an eldritch horror with an insatiable stomach and will sap all like from the world. Or something. M2-1. And the other thing is, when you're dealing with zombies, most people don't have a halberd or a sword or even a scythe available. So that makes things complicated. Baseball bat with spikes in it. I think will be a beginner's definite go-to. Something you're likely to have, or is something relatively easy to get. There is a low barrier to entry with skill. Yes, I played too much Project Zomboid.
Adventures mit Mikrofon und Squirrel.
There you go. Bad Russian accent. Military shovel works, or even actually a spade would work. Sure, Chris Smith, except that it doesn't work with my video editing software, and all the video editing software that is available on Linux are crap. Well, they don't do what I want, so it's not quite crap, it's just... and then also... It doesn't interface with my microphone, great, and I've tried it several times, and it just drives me up the wall. Now, yes, I could spend time and effort into getting it 100% right, but then something always breaks. So, Linux is good if you have time. But if you want reliability for new stuff, Windows is definitely a bit better than that. I've seen several streamers who try Linux for, I don't know, a week or two, and then they go back to Windows. It may suck in a lot of aspects, but the plug-and-play aspect of it is probably a lot better than Linux, all versions of Linux. Okay. I think this was a lot longer than I thought. 3,000. How many words did I have it as 3,000? Fair enough. I mean, with Windows, you give up versatility for plug-and-play ability, I think. Although, the 24-hour stream that everybody enjoys is run off Linux, a Linux box, purchased from YouTube, rented from YouTube, like YouTube Google. Alright, teleprompter software. Right, minimize minimize that. We're going to do that. Then we're going to do this. And then we're going to go here. All right. There seems to be a few new people here, and you're wondering why you can see the green screen. I record the raw video like this so that we can get rid of the green screen in the editing software, which is a far better green screen remover than OBS. So when I record for the video, I do it on this, and then we'll go back to the translucent background once we're done. It does mean that while I narrate, I can't really check out the comments, but I will catch up with them once I'm finished. Or halfway through. It really much depends. Yes. While I'm narrating, you can talk smack about me because chat is just for the fans. But chat is always just for the fans. If I read comments in the middle of the story, my wife would strangle me because it would make the editing that much more difficult. All right. Just make sure everything is right. Starting the video recording. Starting the audio recording. Everything seems right. Right. Anyways. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called A Vision of Hell, written by Echoing Cascade. 3 VIPs led to a small meeting room inside the unassuming building in a Terran Alliance-controlled planet. Inside, a man wearing a military uniform from a nondescript branch waited for the VIPs to sit down and their guards to leave the room to commence the debriefing.
Well, what are you about to see?
Was the analyst.
What you are about to see and hear is currently classified information. The purpose of this impromptu gathering is to decide if it should remain so.
All three VIPs nodded and turned to look at the screen that had turned on. One of them couldn't help but scream at what he saw. "Oh, by the gods!" On the screen was a man, or what remained of a man, calmly sitting in front of a camera as everything around him burned. Unknown soldier. Nope. Yes, this is the after-action report of a mission in another castle. Captain Crane wasn't happy. He and his team had received orders to mount a rescue mission. The target, Princess Yumi Duval, and an unknown number of survivors. Normally, rescuing a princess is something of a dream job and a task that we would do in our sleep. But the goddamn location. The location was an Insu colony on the edge of Sector 17. A colony that was under suspicion of skilled infestation. Carnivorous psychic bugs. I don't know what God came up with. Carnivorous psychic bugs. Carnivorous psychic bugs. I don't know what God came up with that idea, but he deserves a beating. The princess and her delegation had gone to evaluate the situation and calm the population. After a week of radio silence, orders to glass the colony had been sent. The venerable young man was dispatched. The heavy command cruiser was on its way to sterilize the colony when they heard a message playing on loop.
We managed to lock ourselves in a vault. Please get us out of here. We have enough air and food for a couple more days. But after that,
The message was audio only, and the technicians managed to identify the voice as that of the princess. The mission shifted from glassing, followed by search and destroy, to rescue. I've racked my brain around a non-suicidal plan, but the best I can come up with is a 4-man team assisted by a war gear. A war gear was a heavily armored heavy armor. A war gear was a heavily armed humanoid combat platform. It would be remote controlled from a venerable young man by specialist Jonas. Lucky bastard. Time to give the good news to Valkyrie. Valkyrie? That's not Valkyrie. Time to give the good news to Valkyrie. Time to give the good news to Valkyrie, Loki, and Doc. Boss, if you want me dead, I have this perfectly good... Boss, if you want me dead, I have this perfectly good gun in my bunk. Just give me a minute to get it. No need for all these theatrics. Usually, these kinds of jokes would be met with a few nervous laughs, or at least a reprimand from Valkyrie, but even the stoic woman nodded in agreement. Captain, this is suicide. We may not know the exact reproduction rate of the skillets, but it's safe to assume the number is in the thousands at the very least. How are we supposed to achieve our objective, outnumbered several thousand to 1? Captain Crane sighed. He had asked himself the same question over and over. He didn't like the answer any more than she did. Oh, we can't land in Volsvelk. The bugs would notice our presence, and the fact that they seem unaware of survivors is the only thing keeping them alive. The only chance that we have is to move stealthily towards the vault. Doc patches up the survivors enough so that we can move them, and then Jonas makes a distraction while we make our escape. I can't be the only one who sees the multitudes of ways in which this can fail miserably, right? Everyone in the room voiced their agreement. Everyone, except Doc. I don't know, Valk. I think it could work. Loki snorted. Oh, please. We've all seen the princess's poster above your bed. The only part of you currently thinking it would work is between your legs. Doc turned beet red and shrank into himself. Listen, we don't have a choice. We have orders, and as crappy as the plan is, it's the best one we've got. We depart tomorrow at 0400. Dismiss! After they landed their stealth shuttle near the edge of the city, they began operation in another castle. The war gear took the lead, followed by Cap, Valk, Doc, and Loki. Doc was nervous, understandably so. Gods, I feel undergeared for this. Unlike the 3 other Marines who each wore War Destroyer heavy armor, he was wearing his combat fatigues and ceramic body armor, a handheld flamethrower on his hip, and a backpack filled with medical supplies. Doc looked at Valk, her armor a masterpiece of functional beauty, a neo-steel chassis covered by ceramic plates, powered by synthetic muscles, and in her hands a heavy grenade launcher that would normally be mounted on an APC. Cap preferred a good old pulse plasma rifle, while Loki's model was reinforced for close quarters combat, and his only weapons were 2-ton gauntlets on each hand. The war gear was the most reassuring presence to Doc. Standing at nearly 11 feet tall, it towered over the rest of the team. It was armed with dual Hellfire napalm launchers mounted on its shoulders, a fission minigun as its main armament, and could take a direct hit from a tank without any damage to show from it. Jonas is the best gear pilot we got in the whole battalion. Hopefully, we won't have to prove it on this mission. Loki was calm. The nerves he felt before a mission had faded the moment he put on his armor. With his baby on, nothing can hurt. With this baby on, nothing can hurt me. He knew this wasn't true, but he somehow always managed to convince himself of this while on field. A trick that had allowed him to keep his cool when others would have panicked or begun to jump at shadows. This is why following was taken This is why the following was taken very seriously by everyone. Locally, Loki suddenly turned his head to 3 o'clock. Anyone see that? They all turned as one to face the direction Loki was pointing.
I've got nothing on sensors.
Nothing here. I don't see anything. The war gear's minigun barrels began to spin as Jonas swore from his pod as... The war gear's minigun barrels began to spin as Jonas swore from his pod aboard the venerable young man. Scottish. Change your plans. Run to the city. I'll hold them off. Go, go. That wasn't Scottish. Change your plans. Run to the city. I'll hold them off. Go, go. As the ground began to shake from the team's 3 o'clock, the war gear began to fire, gouging huge holes in the ground. With every shot, black/red ichor would fountain out. The war gear had sensors the marine armor didn't. One of those was an echolocator. One of those was the echolocator that had found the hundreds of termites like skillets quickly burrowing towards them. I guess Loki saw dust from the digging or something. Jonas didn't have much more time to muse about the situation. The dog-sized insects had begun to spring out of the ground. He engaged the Hellfire launchers when they began to get too close. Frack me! They're too far to run back to... Frack me! They're too far to run back to the shuttle. I need to make sure that they focus on me, or they're all dead. Or they're all dead. Jonas controlled the war gear thanks to a neuralink. So he felt what the machine sensors registered as pain, and yet it was taken apart, bite by vicious bite. He never stopped shooting, stomping, punching, or rolling to make himself a target. Eventually, the link was broken, and he emerged from his pod, vomiting. A couple of techs approached him and helped him to his feet. Tell Command, the mission is FUBA. They need extraction now. Loki had picked up Doc and carried him like a bag of potatoes as he, Velk, and Cap ran for their lives. They managed to reach the city unchallenged by some miracle. They took shelter inside a small drugstore to regroup. Damage report!
5x5.
I'm good. Supplies are okay. Everything but long-range communications is functional. Cap and everyone else knew what he meant. The war gear served as a hard relay to the venerable young man, and if they lost comlink to the ship, it meant that it was offline. Do we remote control the shuttle to come pick us up? Negative. We need a defendable position, preferably from high ground, to have any chance at evac, and besides, we still have a mission. The mood was somber, but no one argued. Luckily, we're not too far from the bank where the princess and the survivors are holed up. They made their way to the impressively large bank, advancing slowly, moving from building to building. The lights and automatic public transport still functioned. The singularity reactor the colony ran on would continue to power it for decades. The city was in perfect order, except it was completely devoid of life. It felt like walking inside a freshly dug grave, a warm body just around the corner. There wasn't even a sign that anything had happened to the population. No blood smears, or even a dropped item on the ground. Nothing was out of place, and yet they knew the entire population was dead. This was bullcrap. Valkyrie had always known she would die inside her armor. This never really bothered her, but from what she had read on the skillets, dying was something of a luxury. I'm gonna die attempting to save a freaking princess. I'm gonna die attempting to save a fracking princess, eaten alive by bugs while I'm either screaming or unaware of it happening. A terrible thought began to take form as she stopped moving. I know what you're thinking, Velk. They haven't gotten into your head. Keep your cool. Focus on the mission and we'll get through this, okay? Velk nodded, and she resumed taking point for the final leg of the trip. As they entered the bank, they were shocked to find the princess waiting for them. She explained that the faulty air duct had forced them to leave the vault early, and that she had taken it upon herself to gather some food for the other survivors. All 5 of them were in the upper floor of the bank. Doc had checked the princess for injuries, and when he declared her perfectly fit, she had kissed him on the cheek. Velk and Loki gave him crap for it, but Cap looked worried. They started to climb the stairs, Doc in front, followed by Princess. Doc in front, following the princess like a love-sick puppy. She's tired, but she still has her supermodel good looks. Doc couldn't help but put his hand to his cheek every time she looked back at him. It had become something of a tic. They found the remaining survivors, and while Doc checked them over, Cap ordered Loki and Valk to secure the roof access to call the shuttle, while he doubled back to ensure that they hadn't been followed. Doc found them all fit to be moved, but something bothered him, something he couldn't quite put into words. Cap, I don't know how to say this, but something feels off about them. It's like... Cap didn't let him finish his sentence. He primed an incendiary grenade, tossed it at the 5 survivors, and shot the princess in the chest. Doc was going to scream at him when he noticed the princess's body. It was partially decomposed, most of the skin was gone, replaced by some sort of transparent gelatin. Her arms and legs moved in a fashion that made it clear that she no longer had bones. On her chest was a large scarab-like creature, with a hole created by Cap's rifle in it. But it wasn't until he saw her head that he threw up. Everything above her jaw was gone. Instead, a large bulbous larvae head protruded from her throat. Oh gods! Cap grabbed the flamethrower from Doc's hip and began burning the thing, which didn't scream in pain, but instead pleaded for help in a relaxed manner. It hurts, Doc. Please tell your friend to stop. I can't make it all. I can make all your fantasies come true. Doc looked at the survivors, which now looked nothing more than egg sacs. Doc looked at the survivors, which now looked like nothing more than egg sacs. Come on, we have to leave. No sooner had he finished saying that the walls began to crack and insects poured from them, small at first, but larger as the cracks widened. By the time they had made it to the corridor leading to the roof stairs, human-sized cockroaches were hot on their heels. Before they could get to them, however, Valk's grenade launcher barked in objection. A mantis roach hybrid dropped from the ceiling on top of Valk. Loki pulverized its head with a front kick. The creature didn't die, however. It began to try and swipe at Loki with its scythes. He had seen this coming and managed to catch both with his gauntlet arms. The thing still seemed to try to chew his face off by pure instinct, even though it no longer had a head, spilling black ichor all over Loki's armor. Where are the survivors? Oh, there are no survivors. Those were bugs. What the frack do you... He was cut short as he saw the walls come down one after another behind Cap and Doc. Frack me! A millipede big enough to swallow the war gear had emerged. We'll hold it off. Get the frack out of here. We'll hold it off. Get the frack out of here. She unloaded on the bugs and wielded the launcher as a club when... She unloaded on the bugs and wielded the launcher as a club when it ran dry. Loki trying to get as many bugs off of her back as possible. Doc and Cap saw them being overrun by insects as the shuttle doors closed. Doc was catching his breath while at the shuttle commands. He was the de facto pilot without fight. He was the de facto pilot without fault present. What the hell happened over here, Cap? Really, moustache. My moustache is definitely trying to ruin this narration. What the hell happened over there, Cap? Cap lowered his visor and rubbed his temples. Skin-colored paint came off and 2 metal implants became visible. I had side happeners installed. They're prototypes. I saw the princess for what she was from the start, and classified files pointed to scarabs as the most powerful psychics. Why not kill her? On the spot. Why not kill her, on the spot? I wanted to get all the survivors. Doc remembered reading something about side dampeners, so that made sense. But then he remembered something else. He remembered the kiss, and he felt the urge to touch his chick again. Cap stopped his hand. It's okay, Doc. Nothing happened. How can you be so sure? You're wearing your armor. Nothing happened. Doc looked down at the War Destroyer's heavy armor that he was wearing, and for a fleeting moment, he was reassured. Then he grabbed his flamethrower from Cap's hand, shoved it into his commanding officer's open helmet, and pulled the trigger. Then why the frack can't I remember even putting this thing on? Inhuman screeching was all he answered. Inhuman screeching was all the answer he got. Doc then looked down at his uniform and saw nothing but his fatigues and ceramic body armor. He took his flamethrower and set the whole shuttle ablaze, and began recording his AAR. I believe the lava-like creatures swallowed the princess's larynx and used it like a wind instrument to lure us in. They are far smarter than previously believed. Doc scratched his cheek, or rather, his teeth. The flesh was gone. He didn't feel anything anymore, not even the heat of the flames. The plan was probably for us to take the survivors back to the venerable young man and use it as a springboard to infect more colonies once I And once I figured something was wrong, they shifted to keeping me and Cap alive to do the same. Multiple alarms began to blare behind Doc. Excuse me. They could figure out how to speak, probably by probing a nearby living human mind, and how to record a message, but not how to fly a shuttle. Glass every planet infested by skillet. Do not attempt to rescue, not even if you hear your loved ones beg for your help. And not even if you hear your loved ones beg for your help. And if you have to send in troops, deploy war gears only. They have no mind to fool, which is why I think they targeted it first. Doc grabbed a grenade from his belt and pulled the pin. Make sure everybody knows what happened here. The video stopped. The analyst turned off the recording.
The stealth shuttle's black box was recovered by the evac team coming to help Captain Crane and his team. Once the video was found, it was sent to us immediately after glassing the planet, that is. The VIPs were in shock. They all heard of skillets. They all knew what they could do. At least, they used to believe so. Send in... No, not M2. Send in the video. Send the video to every branch of the military and make an audio-only file to distribute to the civilians' media. Everyone needs to know a threat of the skillet really pose. The other two VIPs slowly nodded after thinking it over. As they left the building, the VIPs were still shaken. One wondered if Vulcan Loki was still alive when the planet was nuked. Another on how quick Cap was taken over once he was separated from the group. But all three were terrified by Doc's warning. Do not attempt to rescue, not even if you hear your loved ones beg for your help. End of story. All right. We go back to, yes, streaming version. Hello? Why did you disappear? Ah, there we go. Follow a goal. Stop recording. Stop recording. Alrighty, let me just catch up with comments before I do some light editing. Thank you, Peanut. Right. Talking about thongs, or things, whichever one you want. Talking about a phone.
Talking about Battletech, Robotech, Macross. Okay, I'm caught up with chat. Goodbye, Polands. I hope you have a fantastic day at work. I hope it goes without incident and it goes quickly. Those are the two best things for a work day. Quickly and quiet. Okay. I'm going to take background noise. I'm going to minus the background noise from the audio. Then we're going to amplify all the noise and then do another noise pass, which will remove breathing sounds and the like. Then we're going to normalize, which just makes the peaks the same for everything. And then we're going to minus to a relatively decent level. And there we go.
Pathetic muscles, and in her hands a heavy grenade launcher that would normally be mounted on.
Awesome.
Completed.
Alright. What are we doing? Copying the name. Alright, I played the TTRPG once for Robotech many moons ago. No, I'm not trying to fall off my chair. I'm trying to see my keyboard. The microphone is right in front of my keyboard. Yes, I still do need to look at my keyboard sometimes. Right, what are we doing? We've exported that. We need to do a background. Okay. Background image so that the editing can commence. Okay, getting asked a question. I can wait until after stream. Alright. Voice is actually doing okay today. I was like 12 voices. 10 voices.
It's not too bad, I tell you. Not too bad at all.
But Discord won't open. Why won't Discord open? Here we go. Because it's being a pain. A fallen city in the future. Yeah, I mean, wasn't there a lawsuit that just settled between Macross and something, I think. No, I don't really keep up to date with the battle tech Macross stuff. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, 30-year long, 25 years? 25 years, that is a long time. Then it started when I was in high school. Interesting. Okay, minimize this. We can move this so I can see what I'm doing. So these are the 4 generated backgrounds. I'm liking this one for the background. They're all good, but this one I like. Or where even this one? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Vote now, or forever hold your pieces. My vote is for 2 or 3. Quick, type in the chat. This is engagement. I'm a real streamer. Yes! Dramatic. Wow, 2 twos. 2 is winning. 3. Got 3. 4. Yeah, I suppose 4 works. I mean, they all work. Let's be honest. Although I think number 1 is supposed to be pretty cool. See if we can get that a bit zoomed in for everybody. We can have a nice look. There we go. A better look. 5. 5's definitely a frontline runner at this point. Remember that my big fat head is going in the middle of this. So anything in the middle is really going to be lost. So here, you got the middle, you're losing a lot of detail. Here, you're not really losing as much detail. You've got all the buildings and stuff. Right. More questions. Okay. So, we got 2, 2, and 2. I think it's 4. I've changed my mind. We're going with 4. 4 is... That's very true. It was quiet when they landed. Very, very true. Right. Email. So that was a 20-minute story. It's not too bad. 6, 7. Okay. Happy breakfast, Rolando. Good night. Sleep well. Oh, you're making breakfast for the hotel. Fair enough. Have a good day. And a good cooking session. Hopefully it passes without incident. Right. That is sent. Now the question is, do I have enough vocal acuity left to do another story? I'm not sure. I mean, we've been going for a while. I think we crashed at half an hour the first time around, so we've been going for 2.5 hours. 2 hours, 20 minutes. 2 hours and 20 minutes. I have to push the voice, otherwise it doesn't get stronger. All right. We'll be daring. We'll tempt fate a bit. Well, not tempt fate. We'll just be daring. We'll do 2 20-minute stories today. Just to remind the voice who's plus. It should be it. But, you know, gotta do what you gotta do. Nope. One more story, yes. This will put me at about 6,000 words, which is roughly, very roughly, 40% of my pre-surgery capacity. Although, for some strange reason, actually I know why, that's extra concentration, with the TFOS, recording it takes more effort than if I do it without recording myself. I think it's because I have to pay attention to the camera, so it just takes up a little bit more mental processing. But it is what it is. Okay. There we go. Now you can see both the beginning and ending of the sentence. That's good. 205 pixels. Okay. Voices. Voices. What am I doing? This spreadsheet. Yes. Okay. And then open this. Alrighty. M1. M1. So, anybody watching the three-body problem? Is it worthwhile? What do we think? Without spoilers? Should I watch it? Thank you for the kind words, Peanut. The dog just coughed. Needs to stop smoking, that's what it needs to do. Okay, we got a voice. Well, that it does silently, because then it's more violent. We all know this. Still got a cat sleeping at my foot, looking unimpressed, so, you know, business as usual. Now, my cat's name is Belial, and that is because when it was a kitten, when we first got it, it had some intestinal tract bug, which means that it had the most vile farts. Hence its name, Belial. Thankfully, we managed to sort that out. So now he doesn't kill innocent civilians, and we don't have to declare our house as a biohazard zone. Thank you for the good, kind words. Super Badger Doom. I was going to say Super Bad Gert Doom. That's not really not it. Right. Who's talking? Is it in print? It expressed tone and inflection perfectly, but the disconnect between the lips and sounds could never be removed. Huh. We actually have a voice for this. M19, which is bored, disinterested. We have a voice just for this occasion. F1. Okay. F1. Luck. Okay, this is M19. Fair enough, Brian. Fair enough. I have no idea what it is. It's artist.io is some of it. And then AI generated for the rest. And, one. At least most of this is just one voice. Makes it a little easier. Yeah, we'll do Scottish for this one. 6. The name of the next story is The Last Human Diplomat. Unless you mean the one after this one that I'm editing. Good morning, Andy. I hope you're doing well this morning. There we go. Hitting the correct keys.
Hydration.
Because plants like it. Hydration. Must make me a plant. Or a triffid, at least. Okay.
Story completed.
We can now copy it to the teleprompter. Okay. Okay. Streaming mode enabled. And you. All right, story number next. Glasses. Hit the recording button. Hit the other recording button. Look at the camera. Look at the camera normally. All right. Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. Have you ever wondered how these stories are made? Then maybe you should come past the stream. It's a daily stream where I stream myself making these stories. We could have a chit-chat, a chinwag, a gollywog. No, not gollywog. That's a bad word. A chit-chat. And, yes, you can see how all this stuff is done. Some people call it magic. Some people call it, stuff. Anyways, the link will be in the description and it'll be in the comments. But more importantly, on to the story. The Last Human Diplomat, written by Maniacal Monocle. The greatest gift to give us is hope. The greatest gift to give is hope. The growing hollow billboard said to Reen on her way to work. It depicted a group of dirt-covered humans in tattered robes reaching up their arms towards a handsome-looking round tar with perfectly manicured horns and fresh, clean clothes. The billboard towered over the foot traffic on the station like a condemnation from the heavens. Reen could not help but look at it every morning on her commute. It sickened her. She did not look like that. The refugees she represented did not look like that. They were not dirty primates living in rubble. They were people struggling to tread water in a harsh political currents of the exchange. And it was Reen's job to help chart the course for them. While walking through the station, she couldn't help but feel a little lost at sea. A miasma of alien heads, tentacles, and eye analogues bobbed their way through the pedestrian hallways. A sense of otherness threatened to take hold of Reen. She repeated her mantra in her head. I belong here. I am as alien as they are to me. I am a representative of humanity. I belong here. I am as alien to them as they are to me. She made it to the embassy offices before most of the other ambassadors. She was the lone human in the cluster of self-important diplomats, but several others also shared her species' isolation. The Rancart ambassador was a member of a new species on the stage, newer even than humanity. They had made some small talk with Reen, but the fate of humanity always made people nervous. That, and Reen's many scars. Reen sat at her desk and enjoyed a cup of coffee. Commonalities of biology meant that many species of the exchange utilized mild stimulants, and some of those that did specifically used caffeine. It was not terribly hard then for Reen to convince local fabricators. It was not terribly hard then for Reen to convince several. It was not hard. It was not terribly hard then for Reen to convince local fabricators to design her some coffee grounds and a machine to brew coffee.
The fabricators could not have imagined how important it would be for Reen's mornings and for her meetings with other human refugees. Little comforts like hot coffee went a long way in this alien land. Reen was early enough that she could enjoy her morning coffee without interference or interruption. The other ambassadors trickled into the annex, and Reen managed to greet some of them. Being seen, and more importantly, being seen as friendly, were fundamental to her job. She had to fight to undo the message of the advertisement on that billboard. Humanity needed help, but they weren't a huddling mass of miserables waiting for a mighty savior. Humanity was scarred and determined. They would not be at anyone's mercy ever again. Reen poured out her cold coffee as the Runtar ambassador finally arrived. She entered like a sovereign returning to their castle. Luck was the most senior ambassador and represented the most powerful nation in the annex, the Runtar Republic. Her importance dwarfed the other diplomats like a gas giant consuming a field of asteroids. Luck made her usual good mornings to the ambassadors that she was clearly working down today. Reen returned to her coffee to await her moment. The human ambassador's office was not sparse, but it was not lavish. She had 3 paintings on the walls. All of them faced one chair that she had set up for visitors. Reen's desk was a faux wood of a dark color with complicated patterns in the grain. She had been very specific with the fabricators, and even she didn't remember her precise reasoning for its design. It contrasted with the generally light metal walls and their obnoxiously clean surfaces. Reen liked to imagine that it gave her desk an impression of being something real placed into a simulated world. Reen was pretending to read through the messages as she waited for Luck to arrive. Luck would normally pop her bovine-like head through the door and ask some innocuous question, then depart. She did it nearly every day, making appearances, being friendly, being important. Luck was a born and bred diplomat. Among the Runtar, that was likely literally true. Reen did not dislike her for it, but she found some of their habits clearly disingenuous. Reen hoped, somewhat naively, that among professional liars like the other diplomats, they could at least be honest with each other. But deep down, Reen understood that a diplomat's job was being a constant actor, putting on display what she wanted others to think of her people. Reen stirred when she heard Luck chatting up the Runtar ambassador that shared a wall with her office. Reen arrayed her desk to have a thin layer of data sheets and printouts. Luck popped her head into the doorframe and spoke through the ambassador's translator. It expressed tone and inflection perfectly, but its disconnect between the lips sound could never be removed. "Morning, Reen. How's the atmosphere?" "Not too." Reen interrupted her. "Yes, fine, Luck." Her voice was sweet and her tone endearing. She spoke the Runtar High language well. "I'm glad you stopped by, actually. Are we still good for dinner tonight with the representative from Yonk College?" Luck kept a translator set to Reen's language. "No, yes. Of course. I am glad you reminded me. I'd have been late again. You know how the Duro ambassador is with his lunches. They always seem to stretch between 2 meals. Luck dipped her large head almost imperceptibly as she continued her rounds through the office. Reen was quite pleased with herself. It took careful tact and foreplanning to get a bow from the Runtar. That slight head dip wasn't exactly a bow, but Reen considered it a victory nonetheless. The dinner with the Yonk representative had been extended to Luck, not Reen. Reen had been maneuvering for weeks to get her invitation. 4 ambassadors were going, including Luck and herself. The Yonk representative had been unclear in his invitation and had used a formal plural pronoun instead of a singular one when addressing the Honorable Runtar ambassador. Luck, ever the opportunist, had used it as political leverage to lord the invites over the others in the annex. It was likely that any guests brought would be interpreted as servants by the Yonk. The situation had numerous social layers to it, But Reen needed to be in that room with that representative. Reen set herself to actually reading and responding to her messages. Her position as ambassador was tenuous, to say the least. For one, she didn't represent a nation or a state. The rest of the workday was relatively relaxed. Reen took calls with refugee representatives across the exchange and worked with suppliers to get relief packages shipped to where they were needed. Luck had disappeared around midday to lunch with the Duro ambassador, who had afforded himself an isolated office away from the ambassador complex. It was clear his separate office was meant to convey prestige and put his Duro clan on a level with the Imperium, but Reen just thought he was an ass. With about a standard hour left to the station's main work shift, most of the ambassador's complex was empty. They usually worked lax schedules. Working too late into the night could convey that you were busy, and a busy ambassador looked stressed. And what would an ambassador be stressed about? It did not look good to be stressed. Oh yes, what could I possibly have to be stressed about? Reen thought as she sighed and reclined in her chair. Everything's cheery and fine for a human being these days. In her mind, her inner thoughts oozed with a vicious sarcasm. Her final task of the day was not logged anywhere, and she had been careful not to even write it down on the corner of a report anywhere. She packed up her things early, which to the other ambassadors was late, and locked up her office. Only the Rancart ambassador was still there when she departed, and they will likely be there well into the night, as their people tried to avoid war with the Imperium. Reen made her way carefully and casually to the ritzy part of the station, known for its exotic foods. She walked through the front entrance of an ancient-looking establishment, and then straight into the back. Angry dog. Okay, no more angry dogs. She walked through the front entrance of an ancient-looking establishment, and then straight into the back. The staff knew her, and some even waved as she came to pick up her order. The restaurant served a wide clientele, but specialized in food tailored to a species near the core. This was one of the few places on the station that felt truly multicultural. It was a widely known secret that the chef was a Chiron. It was a widely known secret that the chef was a Chiron. If people on the station had any issues with him breaking from traditional caste roles, they didn't voice them. Reen found familiar faces in the kitchen. She'd made herself a regular here, and might have gotten a handful of Vartes line cooks addicted to coffee. A sous chef saw her and shouted something and Reen did not recognize. Not soon after, the head chef, Micta, emerged. His facial tentacles moved in a pattern that Reen had come to recognize as a sign of joy. The two hugged tightly, and Micta replied in Imperium Standard, "You showed up so late, I barely have time to eat with you before your dining room fills up." Reen laughed and replied, "Late? I told you I'd come by 7, and it's 5. Micta's vocalizer laughed back. "Come over here, I got your order ready." He nearly waddled as he walked. His age was evident even across the species border. Reen did not know what differentiates a young Chiron from an old one, but Micta nearly shouts his age at the universe with his actions. I might have some time to make ya some gunbutt soup," he offered. Reen raised her hands in defense and protest. "I have a diplomat dinner tonight. I can't show up full again." Micta waved her protest away. Those diplocar cooks don't know what they're doing. You should eat something edible while you can." Micta approached the cook and sent them off to collect Reen's order. Before she could protest further, he began making something at the stovetop. You should know you're not getting out of here without eating something. Someone found her a stool, and Reen sat down to watch the master at work. I surrender, but please, nothing too big. I have to at least pretend to enjoy these diplomats' hospitality. Micta grumbled something that was likely another jab at the Diplo Corps. Micta expertly skinned and gutted a fish with more eyes than Reen was comfortable with. He used his forearms to their full extent and was soon grilling a pungent collection of fish and vegetables. His arms were a flurry as they added spice and sauce. He finished by scooping the slurry into a flatbed cone. He said nothing as he handed it to Reen, and his eyes demanded that she eat it. She bit into the collection and closed her eyes in bliss. The spice was upfront but not all too encompassing. Whatever species of fish it was, its meat was perfect. It all crumbled together in her mouth as she chewed. Some of the alien vegetables crunched beneath her teeth, while others formed a flavorful mash. She was foolish. She was foolish to ever resist Micta's cooking. If Micta could smile, he'd be beaming like an old grandfather. He turned to Reen's order and examined each item with a keen eye. The staff had learned their lesson from previous outbursts, and none of it was sent back. Micta took an extra moment to look over the loaf of human-style bread. He showed the full length of his baguette. He showed the full length of the baguette to Reen and asked for her approval. He behaved as if she was an expert, but Micta never missed an opportunity to master a new culture's food. He looked through the final bag and pulled a long, thin fish out of it. Now be careful with this one. If you cook for any yonks, you have to be careful about divining it. If you cook for any yonks, you have to be careful about dividing it. He turned the fish over in his hands, inspecting it carefully. Let me get it for you. He moved to grab a knife, but Reen stopped him. I can handle it, don't worry. I'm not cooking for any yonks with this. I just wanted to try it. Micta looked unsure, but returned it to the bag. Be careful still. I don't know how it would affect humans if you cut it up wrong. I'll be extra careful with it, Reen assured him. You worry too much, Micta. She looped her arms through the bags and took another bite of her flatbread cone. And thank you again for the food. Micta switched from doting to adoring. It's called I will make you many more when you come to dinner here tomorrow. Reen laughed, but agreed to come back for dinner. Micta shooed her out like a child late for school. Reen was running late. She considered taking the station tram back to her apartment, but stuck to the pedestrian walkway. The tram would keep a record of where she got on and where she got off. So she took the longer route, sticking to the pathways and sidewalks until she finally arrived at her apartment in one of the mid-rings of the station. Her apartment was a stereotypical ambassador or politician's home. Wooden surfaces had become the recent wealth display across the exchange, and Reen had followed along. In her case, all of the woods was false, with metal or tile breaking up the monotony. Unlike co-workers, Reen wasn't an ambassador for a sovereign nation. Her salary, her entire position, was funded through donation. As much as Reen hated the condescending billboard from her morning commute, the donations it brought in funded her job. If the exchange didn't pity humankind, they wouldn't throw money at refugee relief. Without that petty money, Reen couldn't buy Micta's exotic fish. She set to work carefully. She put all of the produce in a cooler and organized the meats by the prep needed. She set aside a small collection of green vegetables along with the toxic fish that Micta had warned her about. She turned on a stovetop and quickly sliced a few cubes of greens. She didn't know what the veggies were called, but they were close enough to cucumbers for her palate. She let all of the constituent parts of her dinner sit in her frying pan on low heat. Her main objective became the deveining of the toxic fish. The creature had a set of 6 eyes that Reen tried not to look at as she cut off its head. The thing wasn't a fish by Earth's taxonomy. The thing wasn't a fish by Earth's taxonomy. My translation was already. The thing wasn't a fish by Earth's taxonomy, but translation was already tricky enough without scientific pedantry. The fish had a large chitin plate that ran the length of its back. She ran a thin knife between the plate and the flesh beneath. A web of membranes fought back at her knife. She was careful as she went, cutting as close to the chitin as she could manage. As Reen neared the tail of the fish, she was tempted just to rip it off the chitin. She was diligent, however, and carefully cut away the last few tendons connecting it with the fish's flesh. Her reward was a disgusting view of the fish's red and purple meat. All along its thin back muscles ran deep blue veins, filled with toxins that would kill a yonk in a minute and make human feverish. She had practiced this next task several times. She put on her sanitary gloves before she started. The deveining went even slower than the shelling. Her hands cramped before she could finish. The veins resisted careful extraction, wanting to tear in halves and spill their deadly contents. In the end, she had a handful of loose veins and viscera. She took a portion of the toxic veins and tossed them into a composter. After cleaning her knife, she chopped the remaining fish into rough fillets. She threw the fillets into a frying pan with a little regard for seasoning, while she collected the remaining veins into a mortar and pestle. She ground down the viscera until she was left with a pinky-sized pale blue mash. This was finally deposited in the sealed plastic baggie that Reen pressed flat into a coin shape. She made a show of trying to finish her staged dinner. She burned the ends of the fish meat and took a few bites that were eventually spit out. Most of the dinner ended up in the composter along with the previously discarded veins. She threw her knives and the rest of her kitchen implements into a sterilizer. Hopefully, if anyone got to this point, they'd see what she intended them to see. Reen had cooked herself a somewhat exotic dinner. The dress she had chosen was a reserved maroon pantsuit that was maybe a half size too loose along her waist. The designer was over a century dead, and Reen didn't know of any seamstresses that could fix it for her. Her constructed appearance combined the vague impression of professionalism and a hint of enticing mystery. Or, at least, she believed it would with a human crowd. For all she knew, she might be the spitting image of some yonk chicken analog. She hid the disc of poison in a concealed patch. Just some hydration and caffeine intake. She hid the disc of poison in a concealed pouch along her hip. The ancient designer had been gracious enough to stitch in pockets. Reen looked at her data slate and saw that she was definitely going to be late. She sprinted to the tram station near her apartment block. The wave of alien passengers pressed against each other as she pushed her way into the train car. As 1,000 appendages pressed into a confined metal tube, that sense of otherness threatened to overtake her. The small disc of poison became her anchor. I belong here. I'm as alien as them, as they are to me. End of story. Mouse.
Alright, so it looks like she's off to poison someone. Stop recording, stop recording. Okay, let's go back. There we go. All right. Edited. Well, normalized rather than edited. All right, time to catch up with chat. Chat. Good afternoon, Philip. I hope you're doing well. Yes, random question, but I'm catching up with chat. I'm not going to read them all out because I just finished reading a bunch of stuff. I actually put my glasses back on, so I don't have to look closely. Oh, good. A smudge. So very pleasant. Actually, I like that one. Alrighty. It is now sent off. Now we can do the fun part. Well, we can do it, but I think she was planning on poisoning the diplomats. Would be my guess. Well, the diplomats, they would think that she's a slave. They mentioned it earlier in the story. So I'm going to guess that they did something very bad to humanity, and she's possibly the reason why she's all scarred. Would be my interpretation. Although, it's a bit cliffhangery. There's nothing I can do about it. What am I doing? Oh, right. I'm doing the thing. Streaming and reading, that's what I'm doing. Oh, the cat moved. That's his exercise for the day. Like, stood up, turned around, laid back down. So it had a very brisk bit of exercise. Possibly wants to lose weight because I put a little bit of extra effort in. Because it did a full 360. I mean, that's pushing it. Okay. Background image sent. Now we can make some thumbnails. Close. Don't need that. We need that over there. And then we need this over here. Right, thumbnails. So the first one is three exclamation marks. That means I'm serious. Yeah, I do know that chat does crash quite often. Good morning, Dustin. Hope you're doing well. Well, thank you for joining us, Nathan. It's very much appreciated sharing your time with us. And hopefully, I can be entertaining enough to help your workday get past faster without incident. Well, I can't really do anything about it without incident, but I can definitely try and make your workday a little bit less dreary. Yes. How about this image? Good afternoon, Fubits. I hope you're doing well. Oh, yes. Yes, yes. How do you like this? Unfortunately, the image that I really want would be like a bug bursting out of a head. But I think that's a bit much for a thumbnail. I'm glad to hear that, Fubits. Let's make that red. Oh, thank you for that. I'm glad that that stream helps. Right, so I think this is speak English. It's not like it's my only language. There we go. So we want the face definitely shown like that, because you don't want the text to interrupt the face. Go away. Then we move this over here so we get some more bugs in the background, like such. Recovery's going well. I'd say I'm at close to 50% recovered, would be my guess. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, yesterday I had a very bad case of hay fever, so I couldn't record. But the rangers there went to the doctor last Monday. Definitely the range. So the only thing that's outstanding at this point is getting the stamina back to what it was. That may take a month or two. It's all about strengthening muscles back up to where they were and learning how to use new muscles, basically. Right. Oh, that one's better. Methinks. You don't want to make the thumbnail too complicated. I mean, sometimes like a whole phrase can work, but you kind of want to keep it to like 3 or 4 words. Right. They took Earth. I'll take their lives. No. No. Dustin, are they copying my videos or are they just doing the same stories as me? In a TTS. Let me check. They took us. I'll take their lives. Right. I say 3 or 4 words and then do a whole phrase in my next one. This is sort of preloading the expectation for the next story, which didn't quite have a nice ending. So we shall preload it into the thumbnail. And hopefully that works. No, I haven't, Dustin. They haven't done anything to trip the copyright system. And there's nothing really I can do to stop them. Other than just try to be a better YouTuber, creator. Fair enough, Nathan. But, getting back into the swing of things. Earth in blue. Lives in red. There's a bunch of them these days that have popped up. Didn't like that one. Gave me weird results. Cheers, Dustin. Hope you have a fantastic day. I hope your work goes fast and without incident. Cheers, Peanut. Have a good evening. I think this is a bit better. There we go. Then we just copy, paste, flip, move. I think that works. And the apostrophe missing on the aisle will drive people crazy. And they'll comment like galore about my bad English. And drive up engagement. It has nothing to do with the fact that this font doesn't have a comma. Or a thingy. It does. Why didn't it do that earlier? Alrighty. Those are the thumbnails done. Right. How long have we been going? 3 hours. 3.5 hours. That's not bad. I don't think. 3.5 if you include the original half an hour stream that crashed. Right. Right. Just making sure I'm not missing anything. We've done 2 stories. That was awesome. It's getting there. And I think it's pretty much at its limit today. But by pushing it to the limit is how you build muscles, strength, stamina. So, yes. And then hopefully tomorrow we can see how well the voice is doing. And then continue to keep pushing it until we get back up to 100%. But yes, I think that's going to be the end of the stream for today. 3.5 hours, it's quite a long time. 40 minutes of narration. Definitely wears on the voice. You might hear it's a bit flat, more vocal fry. Which is nothing to worry about, it's just tired. wants to go to sleep. So, I hope you all have a fantastic day, or evening, depending on where you are. Have a nice work day, or sleeps. It's always good to have a good sleeps, if you can. And I'll see you tomorrow with an little star at the end of that saying, unless something happens. So yes, I hope you have a fantastic one, and I will see you all tomorrow. Well, probably tonight in the premiere, but